Welcome to Aura Elite, where we turn opportunity into gold. We don't chase what's possible, we create it. This is the power of Aura Elite. Everyone knows Elon Musk. Everyone knows Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, Oprah. But what if I told you there's a billionaire, just 28 years old, who's quietly building an empire even they depend on? No viral interviews, no flashy headlines, and yet this young founder has already built the AI company fueling some of the most powerful institutions in the world. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll understand how Alexandr Wang, the world's youngest self-made billionaire, is quietly positioning himself to play a major role in the future of the U.S. government. And it all started with one decision: to drop out of college. Alexandr Wang's story begins far from Silicon Valley. He wasn't born into the flashing lights of New York or towering wealth of Wall Street. Instead, he entered the world in 1997 in the desert landscapes of New Mexico. His childhood was framed by vast skies, quiet towns, and one of the most secretive scientific institutions in the world, Los Alamos National Laboratory. Both of his parents were physicists at Los Alamos, the same laboratory that once gave birth to the Manhattan Project during World War II, the place where some of the brightest minds in the world wrestled with equations that altered the course of history. For Alexander, this wasn't just history, it was his home. His dinner table conversations weren't about cartoons or weekend plans. They were about physics, mathematics, and the hidden rules of the universe. Growing up in that environment left a permanent mark. Science wasn't something he had to force himself to learn. It was in the air he breathed. The language of numbers, formulas, and logic surrounded him from the very beginning. Teachers quickly noticed he wasn't like other children. When classmates were struggling to memorize multiplication tables, Alexander was already solving advanced problems that seemed more appropriate for high school than elementary school. While most teenagers passed time playing video games, Wang used computers for something entirely different. He was coding, building, testing. He saw computers not as toys, but as tools, machines that could be built and shaped by thought. By middle school, he was competing in mathematics and coding contests. These weren't small school competitions. These were national-level challenges, the kind that pit America's most gifted young minds against one another. And Wang thrived. Judges described him as calm, analytical, unshaken by pressure. He had the rare ability to look at a page of complex data, strip it down to an essence, and find the solution while others were still frozen at the first step. It wasn't just talent, it was a mindset. A willingness to wrestle with complexity until clarity emerged. By the time he reached high school, Alexander's reputation was already spreading through the academic circles. His name appeared in math Olympiad results, coding challenge leaderboards, and science forums. He wasn't loud about his skills. He didn't brag. He simply performed again and again, proving he could see the patterns where most people saw chaos. At just only 17, his abilities placed him on a national stage representing the United States in mathematics competitions. For his peers, these achievements were once-in-a-lifetime milestones. For Wang, they were simply the next step in a journey that felt natural. Each victory built confidence, but more importantly, it built direction. He began to see a future where math and computers weren't just hobbies. They were a large foundation of something much larger. That path led him to MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, a school so selective it accepts less than 5% of its applicants. Getting in is a dream for many, but for Alexander, it was the obvious choice. MIT represented the pinnacle of technical education, a place where brilliance wasn't the exception, but the norm. For many students, arriving at MIT is the finish line. Years of preparation, endless study sessions, and test scores culminate in the reward of attending one of the most prestigious institutions on earth. But for Alexandr Wang, it was just the beginning. MIT wasn't a trophy, it was just a stepping stone. Yet even here, surrounded by some of the most brightest minds of his generation, Wang stood out. Professors noticed his intensity, his focus, and his unusual way of looking at problems. He wasn't content with simply solving equations. He wanted to apply knowledge to bend theory into real-world solutions. It was this drive, not grades, not prestige, that set him apart. And even then came the decision that shocked everyone around him. After just his first year at MIT, Wang chose to drop out of college. To outsiders, it made no sense. Why would anyone walk away from MIT? It was a safe path to wealth, prestige, and lifelong security. Parents would dream of their children being accepted. Yet Alexandr Wang didn't want safety. He wanted impact. Dropping out wasn't an act of rebellion. It wasn't a mistake. It was a calculated move, a risk. He saw an opening that others couldn't. Artificial intelligence was emerging, but the infrastructure to support it was weak. AI needed fuel, mountains of labeled data, and nobody was proving it at a scale. While most 19-year-olds were worried about internships or summer jobs, Wang was already plotting a company that would serve as the backbone of the AI revolution. A company that would do for artificial intelligence what oil pipelines once did for energy. That company would be called Scale AI. And Alexandr Wang was ready to bet his entire future on it. Dropping out of MIT could have been the end of Alexandr Wang's story. But instead, it was the beginning of an empire. Because what he built next didn't just change his life, it changed the future of artificial intelligence itself. When Alexandr Wang walked away from MIT after just 1 year, people assumed he was throwing away his future. In reality, he was about to build it. The year was 2016. Artificial intelligence was just starting to break into mainstream conversations. Self-driving cars were being tested in secret lots. Chatbots were clumsy, barely able to hold a basic conversation. Tech companies were pouring billions into AI research, but there was a hidden problem that almost nobody outside the industry understood. What is that? Data. AI cannot think on its own. It learns. And what it learns depends entirely on the quality of data it's fed. A self-driving car doesn't just know what a stop sign is. It has to be shown millions of images of stop signs at different angles, in different weather, under different conditions. Only then does the machine understand. But in 2016, that process was very slow, messy, and expensive. Engineers and researchers were wasting countless hours labeling images and videos by hand. The demand was exploding, but there was no system to meet it. That's where Alexandr Wang saw his opening. He understood that if AI was going to fuel the future, someone needed to build the assembly line that prepared its data. And if he could do that right, every major tech company in the world would need him. So, at just 19 years old, Wang co-founded Scale AI. The mission was simple in theory, but revolutionary in practice. Provide massive amounts of clean, labeled data to train artificial intelligence systems at scale. From the very beginning, his company set itself apart. Instead of forcing engineers to manually label everything, he built tools to make the process faster, smarter, and more reliable. He introduced quality checks, automation, and a workforce that could tag images, text, and video across industries. It started small. Early clients were autonomous vehicle companies, startups racing to be the first to put self-driving cars on the road. They needed to feed their algorithms images of streets, intersections, pedestrians, and traffic signs from every angle imaginable. The company delivered. What once took months could now be done in weeks. Word spread quickly. Investors began to notice. By 2017, Scale AI was raising millions in venture capital. By 2018, it had secured contracts with some of Silicon Valley's biggest players, and the growth didn't stop. Soon, the company was providing data not just for cars, but for natural language models, the same kind of technology that powers tools like ChatGPT today. It supplied training data for e-commerce platforms, medical research, robotics, and more. If a machine needed to recognize, categorize, or understand something, Wang's company could feed it the knowledge. By 2021, Scale had reached a valuation of more than $7 billion. And Alexandr Wang, still in his 20s, wasn't just a startup founder anymore. He was the CEO of one of the most critical companies in the AI supply chain. Unlike many tech founders who chase publicity, Wang kept a low profile. His company didn't market itself with flashy campaigns. Instead, it built its reputation on results, delivering the invisible fuel that kept the AI boom alive. Behind the scenes, the company was becoming indispensable. OpenAI needed training data. Microsoft needed training data. Tesla's autopilot needed training data. One by one, the world's most powerful companies turned to Wang's pipeline, and he delivered every time. To understand Wang's genius, you have to look beyond the code. His brilliance wasn't just in engineering, it was in foresight. He saw what others missed, that the future of artificial intelligence wouldn't belong only to the companies building the algorithms. It would belong to the company that controlled the data those algorithms fed on. Wang's company wasn't just another startup in Silicon Valley. It became the oil refinery of the AI age, processing the raw material that would fuel entire industries. And at the center of it all, Alexandr Wang stood as its quiet architect. The rise was explosive. Clients, investors, valuations, all pouring in. But while other founders used their sudden wealth to chase fame, Alexandr Wang did something very different. He disappeared from the spotlight, and that silence became his greatest weapon. Now stay with me, because in just a moment, we'll step into the shadows of Washington, where Alexandr Wang holds another government role most Americans have never ever heard about. In the world of billionaires, silence is rare. Elon Musk dominates headlines with tweets that move markets. Mark Zuckerberg stands in the spotlight defending Facebook's every decision. Jeff Bezos turned his rocket launches into primetime events. But Alexandr Wang? He remains almost invisible. By the time his company reached a $7 billion valuation, Wang could have stepped into the limelight. He could have splashed his name across magazine covers, filled his social media with private jets and yachts, or staged flashy interviews. But he wanted none of it. He has no obsession with celebrity, no craving for constant validation, no need to flaunt private islands or sports cars. Instead, he has built a reputation for being measured, analytical, and almost monastic in his devotion to his company's mission. When journalists have managed to sit down with him, they describe a man who answers carefully, choosing precision over personality. He doesn't exaggerate. He doesn't make bold claims. For someone whose decisions influence billion-dollar industries, Wang speaks with humility of an engineer rather than the swagger of a mogul. And yet, that quietness has only made him more intriguing. People ask, who is this billionaire who doesn't play the fame game? Why does he keep such a low profile when his company's technology sits at the heart of the AI revolution? Inside his company, his leadership style mirrors his personality. Employees describe him as focused, intense, and demanding of excellence, but never theatrical. He doesn't inspire through showmanship. He inspires through vision. He has a rare ability to zoom out, see where the world is going, and build the infrastructure before others even realize they'll need it. That discipline is why companies trust him. In the AI gold rush, where startups rise and fall overnight, his company projected something different: stability, consistency, control. But there's another reason why Wang stays quiet, one that hints at a much bigger story. Because not all of his clients are public, not every contract is announced, and not every deal is about making chatbots smarter or cars safer. Behind the scenes, his company was beginning to work with clients whose influence stretched far beyond Silicon Valley. Clients whose projects weren't about convenience, but about security and power. For Alexandr Wang, silence wasn't just about personality trait, it was a necessity. While other billionaires competed for attention, Wang was carefully, quietly positioning himself in places most people would never look. Places where the stakes aren't measured in app downloads or ad revenue, but in global power. And soon, you will learn that Alexandr Wang's empire wasn't built on serving the tech giants we know, but on something far more strategic, far more controversial, and far more powerful. For most people, artificial intelligence is about convenience, smarter searches, personalized recommendations, cars that drive themselves. But for Alexandr Wang, AI was never about convenience. It was about power. And nowhere is that power more visible than in Washington, D.C. By his mid-20s, Wang wasn't just applying data tech giants like OpenAI and Microsoft. His company was quietly winning contracts with one of the most powerful institutions on earth, the United States government, more specifically, the Department of Defense. This is the part of the story almost nobody outside the industry talks about. His company isn't just helping chatbots or self-driving cars. It's helping the U.S. military train artificial intelligence to analyze satellite images, interpret surveillance data, and detect threats in real time. Think about that. A 25-year-old billionaire barely out of college holding the keys to technology that could shape national security strategies. The company's work has been tied to Project Maven, a Pentagon initiative using machine learning to sift through drone and satellite footage. Before AI, analysts could spend days combining through data. With Wang's system, they can detect patterns in minutes. This is the kind of capability that can tip the balance of power in conflicts. And it's being powered, in part, by Alexandr Wang's company. For him, this wasn't just another contract. It was proof of ultimate importance. Tech giants might keep the lights on, but defense contracts make you indispensable. They ensure you're part of a nation's infrastructure. Of course, defense contracts also mean secrecy. No glossy press releases, no product launches, just silence. Silence from Washington, silence from his company, silence from Wang himself. But the implications are enormous. His company is becoming a cornerstone of America's AI defense strategy. The Pentagon has already said it. Artificial intelligence will be as transformative to warfare in the 21st century as nuclear weapons were in the 20th. Whoever masters it wins. And right now, Alexandr Wang has placed himself at the center of the race. At 25 years old, running a $7 billion company, Wang isn't just a tech founder anymore. He's a power broker, and yet most of the world still doesn't even know his name. That's the paradox of his story. While Elon Musk fights culture wars online and Zuckerberg pushes the metaverse, Wang's empire grows quietly in the background, an empire with fewer headlines, but far higher stakes. Because at the intersection of artificial intelligence and defense, the decisions made in silence may echo louder than anything shouted in public. Alexandr Wang didn't just drop out of MIT to build a company. He built infrastructure. Infrastructure now tied to both Silicon Valley and the U.S. military. And in doing so, he became something more than a young and self-made billionaire. He became one of the most quietly powerful men in the world. The story of Alexandr Wang doesn't end with billion-dollar valuations or government contracts. In many ways, it's only just the beginning. The story of Alexandr doesn't end with billion-dollar valuations or government contracts. In many ways, it's just the beginning. Artificial intelligence is no longer a futuristic dream. It's here, shaping industries, rewriting economies, and redrawing the lines of global competition. And at the center of this transformation stands a company that was once just a teenager's idea. His company feeds data to Silicon Valley giants. It supports self-driving cars, medical research, robotics, and digital assistants. At the same time, it plays a role in defense and intelligence, where its influence could change how wars are fought. But the question is, what happens next? If Alexandr Wang maintains dominance, his wealth could multiply exponentially. Some predict his company could become the backbone of nearly every AI system on Earth. That wouldn't just make Wang richer, it would make him one of the most powerful people alive. But competition is fierce. Google, Amazon, Microsoft, OpenAI, and countless startups are racing to build their own infrastructure. Any misstep could weaken Wang's position. And then come the ethical questions. Should so much influence rest with one company, one man? History tells us that those who control infrastructure shape civilizations. The railroads, the oil barons, the tech giants. Wang's story echoes all of them, except this time, The infrastructure isn't trains or oil, it's intelligence itself. Artificial intelligence is the new battlefield of influence, and Alexandr Wang has built the pipelines that carry its fuel. That makes him not just a participant, but an architect of the future. The coming years may see his company expand further into defense, medicine, or even space. Wherever AI goes, it's positioned to follow or lead. But one thing that seems certain, Alexandr Wang will remain quiet, while others fight for the spotlight. He has already proven that silence and strategy can be more powerful than celebrity. His empire doesn't need headlines, it needs results. And that, perhaps, is what makes Alexandr Wang most dangerous. Because in a world obsessed with the loudest voices, true power may belong to the ones who speak the least. Alexandr Wang is not just the world's youngest self-made billionaire. He is the quiet architect of artificial intelligence, a man whose decisions today may shape the way nations, industries, and even entire civilizations operate tomorrow. And while most of the world still doesn't know his name, one thing is for certain: they will know his impact.